Scene opens with dramatic sweeping shots of the Giza pyramids at sunrise. Host appears on screen, perhaps in a studio with high-quality graphics of pyramids in the background, or even green screen to appear on site. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling one of history's greatest mysteries. Who really built the Egyptian pyramids? For centuries, the image of thousands of slaves whipped and driven under the scorching sun has been burned into our collective imagination. We've seen it in movies, we've read it in books. But what if I told you that story, as compelling as it is almost entirely wrong? Let's travel back in time, over 4,500 years, to the age of the pharaohs. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu, is an architectural marvel. It's made of 2.3 million stone blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons. For a long time, the sheer scale of this project made people assume that only a massive, forced labor force could have accomplished it. The Greek historian Herodotus, writing 2,000 years after the pyramids were built, is one of our earliest sources for this idea. He described 100,000 men working in 3-month shifts. This narrative stuck. But modern archaeology tells a very different and, frankly, a much more fascinating story. So, if not slaves, then who? The answer is skilled, well-fed, and respected Egyptian workers. How do we know this? Well, the plot twist begins in the 1990s. Archaeologists, including the famed Dr. Zahi Hawass and Dr. Mark Lehner, discovered a lost city right next to the pyramids. This wasn't a slum. It was a highly organized settlement, complete with houses, bakeries, breweries, and even a medical facility with evidence of advanced surgery, like amputated limbs that had healed. This was a city for the builders. Inside this city, they found evidence of a diet fit for kings, or at least very important workers. The bone analysis from the workers' cemetery shows they ate a protein-rich diet of prime beef, mutton, and fish. We're talking about tons of cattle, sheep, and goat bones. These weren't the scraps you'd feed an enslaved population. They were consuming the best food, fuel for the hard physical labor they were undertaking. The bakeries found on site were industrial scale, capable of producing thousands of loaves of bread and gallons of beer every day. Beer was a staple of the ancient Egyptian diet, serving as both nutrition and payment. So, who were these people? They were Egyptians, from all over the kingdom, from villages in the north and the south. It seems there was a rotating labor force of about 10,000 workers at any given time, not the 100,000 Herodotus mentioned. They were likely a mix of a permanent, skilled core of engineers, architects, and stonemasons, supplemented by a rotating levy of seasonal laborers. These seasonal workers were probably farmers, who would come to work on the pyramids during the annual Nile flood, a time when their fields were underwater and agricultural work was impossible. But why would they do it? This is where it gets really interesting. It wasn't about forced labor, it was about national pride and religious duty. For the ancient Egyptians, the pharaoh was more than a king. He was a living god, the link between the divine and the mortal world. Ensuring his successful journey to the afterlife was a matter of cosmic importance. It maintained Ma'at, the divine order and balance of the universe. By building the pyramid, these workers believed they were securing their own prosperity and their place in the afterlife. It was a national project, a form of civil and religious service. Further evidence comes from a nearby cemetery discovered for the workers. The tombs found here were a great honor. Some were even small, stepped pyramids mimicking the royal tombs they were building. To be buried near your pharaoh was a sign of immense respect. Inscriptions and graffiti found in and around the pyramids also give us clues. Teams of workers left behind names like the Drunkards of Menkaure or the Friends of Khufu. These aren't the markings of oppressed slaves. They're the proud, competitive, and sometimes humorous tags of organized work gangs who took pride in their craft. It is like a construction crew today spray painting their team name on the final beam of a skyscraper. So, how did they move those massive stones? This is where the ingenuity really shines. Recent discoveries, like a 4,500-year-old papyrus diary of an official named Merer, have given us incredible first-hand accounts. Merer was a low-level manager circuitous who oversaw a team of 40 elite workers. His diary details a system of man-made canals dug from the Nile right up to a harbor at the base of the Giza Plateau. Huge blocks of limestone from Tura were floated on wooden boats down the Nile and through these canals. The granite from Aswan, hundreds of miles to the south, was also transported this way. Once the blocks reached the construction site, it's believed they were hauled up a system of complex ramps. The exact design of these ramps is still debated by Egyptologists. Was it a single, long, straight ramp? A spiral ramp that wrapped around the pyramid? Or an internal ramp system within the pyramid's core? A recent study suggested a combination, with an external ramp for the lower levels and an internal one for the upper, steeper sections. Workers would have used sledges, wetting the sand in front of them to reduce friction, a technique depicted in ancient tomb paintings. It was a masterpiece of project management, combining human power with brilliant engineering. So, let's put the old myth solutions to rest. The pyramids weren't built by slaves. They were built by proud Egyptian citizens, skilled artisans and laborers who were respected, well compensated, and motivated by a deep sense of purpose. They were part of a grand, unifying national project that showcased the power, wealth, and organizational genius of the Old Kingdom. The pyramids stand today not as monuments to oppression, but as a testament to human cooperation, ingenuity, and faith. The real story is far more impressive than the myth. What do you think? Does this change how you see these ancient wonders? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed uncovering this piece of history with me, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the past. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.